All right, thank you very much for coming out again tonight. And welcome to the Red Wing League of Women Voters Meet Your 2020 Candidates. The League of Women Voters is a nonprofit organization focused on grassroots voter education. We encourage active and informed participation in government. The League is nonpartisan and we do not endorse candidates for office or political parties. The opinions expressed tonight are those of the candidates and not those of the League of Women Voters. We'd like to give a special thanks to the candidates for being here and to our co-sponsors, the Red Wing Area Chamber of Commerce and Prairie Island Indian Community, for helping us bring you this event. Before we hear from the candidates for Red Wing City Council and Mayor, we have some general information and guidelines to share with you. Tonight is an opportunity to hear from all candidates on an equal footing to inform voters. It is not a campaign event, but an exercise in democracy with the exchange of opinions and ideas by candidates prompted by voters' questions. In that spirit, we ask that all here tonight respect the rules that we asked our candidates to follow, respecting the nonpartisan nature of this event. No campaign materials are allowed except in the designated areas at the back of the park. The forum this evening is being recorded by the League of Women Voters for later broadcast. Recordings of this event may not be used without the express written approval of the League. The League will only allow audio-video of this event to be broadcast in its entirety, except by the media reporting on the event. Our official recordings will be available within 48 hours of the event and will be shared with the candidates. The recording of this event will also be made available on local cable channels, Facebook, and vote411.org. Vote411.org is a League of Women Voters complete voter's guide. Here you will find your ballot, local race information, candidate statements, your polling place, and more after tomorrow, September 18th. To comply with the governor's COVID-19 orders, we request that all audience members please wear a mask and maintain a social distance of at least 6 feet between yourself and others. We have hand sanitizer and a small number of masks available at the greeters table by the stage. In the event of a weather emergency, we will head to the basement of the Red Wing Public Library behind us. And early voting starts tomorrow, September 18th. And there are so many ways to vote. One, you can vote by mail with an absentee ballot, which can be returned either by mail or hand-delivered to the Goodhue County Government Center on 5th Street directly behind you. Two, you can also vote in person at the Government Center behind you. Three, there's also in-person voting at the Red Wing City Hall on 4th Street. And of course, at the polls on November 4th. Pardon me, November 3rd. Tuesday, November 3rd. Choose one and do it. Any questions, please come to our table over here. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator for this evening's forum, Lisa Bailey. Lisa is a Red Wing resident, a longtime League of Women Voters member and past president, a former member of the Red Wing City Council. She now works at the Department of Human Services in St. Paul. Thank you, Lisa, for moderating our event.
Thank you, Tina. And welcome everyone to tonight's Meet the Candidates event. This is our third in our series this year, and I think we're all really pleased with how it's been going. We welcome or appreciate your willingness to sit through the noise and the bells and the being outdoors. A little chilly tonight, but the pandemic has forced us into new places. I'm going to give a few additional ground rules. First of all, I'm going to be using everyone's first names tonight, and I don't mean any disrespect. I've checked with everyone about this. It's to, in order to not be using titles or to be in any way confusing. We will not be accepting audience questions tonight while the candidates are on stage. The questions were previously collected online anonymously and were reviewed by an experienced League of Women Voters team. None of the candidates has seen the questions. Each candidate will make a timed opening and closing statement. Candidates will have a maximum of 1 minute to respond to questions, and they will answer in a random order. We have a randomized series of how the candidates will be answering for each question. I will repeat the question if asked to do so by a candidate. In addition, each candidate may make one rebuttal statement by raising an orange card they have on their seat. They will have 30 seconds to do that if they choose. Please join me at this time in welcoming the candidates, and as I state your name, if you could please rise. To my right, I have mayoral candidates Sean Dowse and Mike Wilson. Thank you. I also have City Council Ward 1 candidate Kim Bisey. To my left, City Council Ward 2 candidates John Becker and Andy Klitsky. And City Council Ward 3 and 4 candidates Evan Brown and Ernie Stone. I'm now going to ask if you could please, going forward, hold your applause until after the closing statements. We will begin at this time with opening statements, and I'm going to read the order first so that you can all prepare yourselves. The order of the opening statements will be Sean, Mike, Kim, Andy, John, Ernie, Evan, and I will repeat that as we go on. First is Sean, followed by Mike.
Hi, I'm Sean Dowse. In 1989, I came to Red Wing with my family, my wife Marcy and 2 kids, Timothy and Maggie, to become the executive director of the Sheldon Theater and help make that a treasure and an important part of the cultural fabric of Red Wing. In the beginning, my wife was commuting to the Twin Cities for a job, but she found a great job here in Red Wing. Our kids went into the Red Wing school system and both graduated from Red Wing High School. I guess becoming mayor has been a way for me to give back to Red Wing because it has given me so much, given our family so much, so time to give back. It's been a privilege to work on Red Wing 2040 and get a community plan for the next 20 years. A privilege to work with folks in our boards and commissions, get folks to volunteer to their passion and their commitment, especially the new board and commission, excuse me, the advocacy for right, for the arts. The arts. Yes, the Arts and Culture Commission, and finally, to be an advocate at the state of Scripps. I'll continue that later.
Thank you. Next we have Mike, followed by Kim.
Thank you, everyone, and glad to be here tonight. I'm Mike Wilson, and I'm here hoping to be your next mayor of Red Wing. I was born here in Red Wing 68 years ago, right up on 4th Street at St. John's Hospital. From there, I went baptized and confirmed at United Lutheran. From there, I moved over to Central High School, which I graduated from 1970. From there, I moved down to West Main Street and worked for the family business there at Wilson Oil Company, which I ran for myself for 40 years. During those 40 years, we owned several businesses around town. We had a station on Main Street. We had a station up on 7th and Plum, and we owned one also down in Frontenac. So I was involved with a lot of employees, a lot of different issues, and how to run businesses. I've also been involved in many civic organizations in Red Wing, from the Elks Club to the YMCA. I also founded the Red Wing Marine Museum down Levy Street, which is a passion of mine. I wanted to continue to hold the local histories on that. As far as running for mayor, there's some issues here, everything from downtown development, housing, employment amongst members in town, and looking forward to serving this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to have Kim, followed by Andy.
I welcome you all here this evening. I'm Kim Bicey. I came to Red Wing over 30 years ago with my wife and 3 children. We raised them here in Red Wing. And even though I got involved in a family business in Hastings, we continued to live here because we saw this as a community in which you could have your family grow. It was affordable, and it was a good, safe community. And our kids have grown up. Some of them still live here in town. Some have moved away. But one of the reasons I ran for council 5 years ago is the same reason I'm running today, is that people can come to Red Wing. It can be a place they can raise their families. They can run their businesses here and be safe and enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Andy, followed by John.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andy Klitsky. I'm born and raised in Red Wing, lived here my entire life. Running for City Council Ward 2 to help people. My campaign will be pretty simple, lower taxes, less spending, strong public safety, and listening to the people. I plan to work with residents, and I will make sure that their voices are heard on my votes for the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Now John, followed by Ernie.
Hello, thanks for coming tonight. My name is John Becker. I am running for Red Wing City Council Ward 2. An incumbent. I ran 4 years ago, and it's been my pleasure to serve my community for the past 4 years. I guess I'll just make it simple. I will give you 3 fun facts about me that you probably didn't know if you didn't know. I've been married for 42 years to the most beautiful woman in the world, and they made one good decision in my life, and that was a very good decision. We raised 3 sons, and I have 7 grandchildren. So family is very, very important to me, and I think that reflects on how I govern for the city, with the city council. Secondly, I've always written my own paycheck. In other words, I've always been self-employed. I own a business in Red Wing. I've had a business here in Red Wing for almost 19 years. I understand the importance of trying to keep business overhead as low as possible, and I think that background is reflected in a lot of the decisions I've made on city council. And thirdly, when I was in, well, I guess I'm not going to share that part of the story, but I just want to say that it's been my pleasure to serve on city council, and it'll be my pleasure if I can be reelected, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Ernie, followed by Evan.
If you see something wrong, fix it. Out of control spending, quality city services, safety and serenity of the citizens, those are the things that I am standing for. League of Women Voters, thank you for providing this forum here and navigating through these uncertain waters that we're living through. I also like to thank the police, firefighters, first responders all across the country, and especially here in Red Wing, who are doing a great job of keeping us safe. A little about me. My name is Ernie Stone. Married 36 years ago. I've got 2 grown boys. Just down the street is the American Legion, Post 54. I am a son of the Legion, and I go there to honor those who served, gave their lives, and also an opportunity to celebrate the lives of those who served and hear their stories. Toastmasters, I have a lot of training with leadership. Been with Hiawatha Valley Toastmasters for about 8 years now. Red Wing Sportsman's Club is a place that I go for seeing that my rights are guaranteed for the Second Amendment. And again, I'd like to thank you for coming this evening and seeing for yourself and listening for yourself the issues.
Thank you, and last but not least, Evan.
Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Thank League of Women Voters for hosting. Thank all the candidates up here. This is really an opportunity. A critical component in democracy is when you hear from candidates and you get to talk. And so it is my honor and privilege to be here and talk to you about what's important to me. It has been a real privilege to serve. I was first elected in 2016 for Wards 3 and 4 combined, and serving and representing the citizens of Red Wing has been kind of my first passion. When I and my wife moved here in 2002, I immediately got dragged into government, serving, because this is such a passionate community about issues and about its governance. The people here are committed and care, and I love that about them. And we've worked hard to get things done in this community, and it's always been a community lift. And that is the reason I got involved originally. I served 8 years on the city's charter commission to help guide our city charter, our constitution of our city. I served 4 years on our city's sustainability commission to position our city as forward-thinking to deal with the issues of climate change, greenhouse gas emissions, and keep our environment safe and healthy for future generations. And I served for 4 years on City Council, hearing your voices, listening, and representing you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We will now go into the questions themselves, and we're going to start with a question that is only for the two mayoral candidates. We will have Mike followed by Sean. The question is, what is your leadership style, and how does that inform how you will approach the job of mayor? I'll read it again. What is your leadership style, and how does that inform how you will approach the job of mayor? Mike?
I think when I listened to that question, I thought, well, this would be pretty simple to tell. With the employees that I had in the years that I was in business, it was very important to treat your help and treat them properly. Take care of your help and they'll take care of you. And it's pretty simple, easy to do, and I would do the same here in the city. We have city employees that are the backbone of the services in this community. I find this very important. I talk to them all the time, off and on when they're down, and they just come in our place of business and fuel up, so I had to rapport with them. We've got a stellar department in the maintenance people, our police force, firemen. I'm communicating with those fellas all the time too. Treat them right and they'll treat you right. And be fair to everybody. No matter what you do in life, just be fair to everybody and things will be just fine. And I look forward to serving the people of this community.
Thank you. Sean?
I've always thought of myself as a servant leader. A servant leader provides the resources and the help and the support to folks so that they can do their jobs. It's also a quality of sitting down and working with a group of people, either virtually or in person, to get a consensus, get ideas, hash things out so that you can emerge with what needs to be done to solve a problem or to come up with a new idea or to bring something to the table where everybody can toss it around and get it. So it's a question of figuring out as you go forward what the direction is the people want to go in, the staff wants to go in, and how to get the job done efficiently and with most economically. So we're here to serve the folks in Red Wing, to give people the resources so they can lead helpful and wholesome lives. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to now questions for the city council candidates. And the order will be Andy, Kim, John, Ernie, Evan. And I will repeat that as we go through, but we'll start out with Andy. The question is, What in your past experience prepares you for being a city council member? What in your past experience prepares you for being a city council member?
I guess really my passion for my town. I love this town. I don't have experience. This is my first time. I've spent 26 years at SB Foot Tanning Company. I've been asked to lead many operations in that plant, even though I'm not in supervision, but I'm relied upon daily. So I think that will help me. But I just want to serve my town and give back in any way I can. Thanks.
Thank you. Kim, followed by John.
To start with, in my past experience, it would be what I currently do is run a business that employs a number of employees across multiple locations, and been doing that for over 30 years. And then also the organizations that I volunteered in, being presidents of the boards or members of the boards, and watching budgets and holding them in line so that we could continue to exist.
Thank you. John, followed by Ernie.
My personal experience, I think, that I can draw upon is going forward as city council, being a father. That's a huge responsibility. Doesn't get any larger than taking care of your family and dealing with all the trials and tribulations that involves. Being a small business owner, I have hired and I have fired many people, and I operate on a sense of accountability. I expect everybody to deliver on what they tell me they're going to deliver. So I've built budgets, I've set goals, I've made many mistakes, and I try never to make the same mistake twice.
Thank you. We have Ernie, followed by Evan.
Excellent question. I have the leadership skills as a manager of a department. I'm able to observe things and listen to people, try to come with a solution as quickly as possible. Not burying any items or any concerns, letting people know what's going on right away. So as far as my desire for the opportunity, it would be my obligation to get on the city council rather than just sitting around and complaining about taxes, complaining about services and unfair practices that are going on. So again, rather than complaining, I will do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Evan.
Thank you. First and foremost, I think what has prepared me is the experience of working in grassroots forums with citizens in all kinds of issues as citizens of Red Wing. It's taught me how to work in groups, and that's ultimately what governance is about. Governance is not necessarily a top-down idea. Governance is about taking all the ideas, the marketplace of ideas, and working with them and figuring out what works the best for the most with the least resources so that we can continue what we do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next question, and this will be for all candidates. The order of questioning will be John, Evan, Ernie, Kim, Andy, Sean, Mike. And again, I'll repeat that, but it will start out with John and Evan. The question is, if elected, what is your plan to support Red Wing businesses?
Oh, I'm very passionate about this question. There's a lot of things we can be doing. Obviously, buy local as much as you can. I'm wearing my Red Wing shoes right now because I believe that much in buying local. And that's very important. That sends a message that you believe in your community. The other things that we can do is we can do things like setting up a phone bank to find out which businesses need help and what kind of help they need. You're not necessarily going to hear businesses volunteer what their needs are. But if you can set up a phone tree in which, especially in the past 6 months of what we've gone through with the COVID crisis, I mean, information is power, and the ability to tap into what the real needs of the small businesses are can only happen is if you reach out to them on an individual basis and literally walking around from door to door and talking to the owners.
Thank you. Evan, followed by Ernie.
And I serve on our Port Authority to help. We've worked really hard with the Port Authority in these uncertain times to kind of really work and figure out how to deliver to small businesses. And moving ahead, that experience and working and getting emergency loans out to small businesses in our community, some of these loans were the first monies that they received. It taught me the value of how we have to act and act quickly and look at every resource that we can to deliver. Small businesses are really the backbone of a community, and they're the building block upon which a community succeeds. And I will continue to focus on them as part of my platform.
Thank you. Ernie, followed by Kim.
I believe the best thing that I would be able to do, and or the government in general, would be to get out of the way. Let the businesses do and run their business. They're the experts at their field. Creating an environment for the city, for the, whether it's for the residents, for the business owners, so that they have a pool of employees, create an environment where the businesses can flourish. Aside from listening, if there's issues, concerns, ordinances, whatever comes up as a topic as times change, that of course is on the table. But more importantly than anything else, government, stay out of the way.
Thank you. Kim, followed by Andy.
Being a small business owner, I'm in the same boat as all the small businesses in our community. So staying in communication with them and being able to share with them the things that I know and learn from them as well, and work together in finding solutions to keeping our businesses operating and profitable and employing our employees. Many times small businesses don't know what's available to them either from the city or other sources to be able to help them continue to keep their employees employed or keep their businesses open. And to be able to communicate with them and share those ideas with each other really helps. So the key that I see is communicating with our businesses, using the Port Authority, using other sources within our community to keep them working together.
Thank you. Andy, followed by Sean.
I guess the big thing would be obviously communication. Kind of like John said, go door to door, you know, with the businesses and see what they need, any help, emergency loans, and absolutely buy local, buy local. I mean, I work for a local company. A lot of people here have their own businesses and do that as well. So I guess that's it. Thanks.
I found it really useful to be going out and talking to business owners. All business owners, they all have different issues facing them. For instance, I talked to a manufacturer the other day. They had, in January, they had a business where they had 10 employees. They're down now to 3 or 4 employees working maybe 1 day a month, and that they are in need of $1 million bridge to get them through the next 4 months. So that's a vital need. And so that tells me that a mayor of Red Wing has to keep pressure on Washington in order to get the HEROES Act passed so that we can bring additional financial resources to Red Wing directly so that we can distribute that to businesses. And then finally, we need to figure out as a city how we can deliver customers and markets to Red Wing. For instance, the great riverfront we have now is prepared to host 3 boat companies that are going to be coming to Red Wing in future years to deliver tourists to Red Wing to see Red Wing. So that's how we can help the economy and businesses.
Thank you. Mike.
Well, being a former business owner, I'm pro-business all the way. That's one main reason why I'm standing here today. We've got to help the people downtown and these businesses, make them thrive, get out in this market, this community. Sean referenced the river boats. There's a reason those river boats were coming here. We were fueling them in Winona before. I explained to them what all we have to offer here. Lo and behold, guess where they're getting their boats serviced now? You got to get out and you got to visit with people. We got a golden opportunity up in Minneapolis. Bring people in here. Those businesses are taking off out of Minneapolis now. They're looking for different places to go. Let's get out and let's market this community. We've got excellent businesses in this town, and we've got excellent workforce. And I think what we got to do is make maximum use out of everybody that's in this community, and help the businessmen and back down on these regulations that they're incurring. If we have to do some building, let's back off on the permitting process. I think you'd be surprised if we could get a lot of the permitting set aside and see more growth in that area. Thank you.
Moving on to our next question. This is a public safety question. The order is going to be Ernie, Sean, Mike, Evan, Kim, Andy, John. And we'll be starting out with Ernie and then Sean. The question is, some citizens say they do not feel safe in Red Wing. How can city government respond to those concerns? Some citizens say they do not feel safe in Red Wing. How can city government respond to those concerns?
I find it tragic that we're even having that conversation or even having to listen to that. A lot of things have changed. From COVID to the Black Lives Matter, the riots across the country, the fear that those are going to come here to Red Wing. I can understand why people are fearful. I just take pause in even having to address this question. I appreciate the Red Wing Police Department. I find them, they're doing an excellent job. I would want to support them and listen to them as to what they need and how they can better serve. I would definitely listen to the concerns. If somebody's afraid here in Red Wing, I'd want to know why specifically and address them in those orders.
Thank you. Sean, followed by Mike.
We have a great police department. We have great leadership at the police department. Nevertheless, through the years, through a pandemic, through white privilege going forward, there are folks in this community, people of color, other minority communities who do not feel safe here because of certain behaviors on behalf of some people. But the idea that we have to work together to figure out where we can work together to figure out how to have everybody feel safe in their homes at night. A while back, I got a call from somebody who the flag was taken down from their house. It feels violated, and we have a process in Red Wing that needs fixing to address those kind of things. But thank you.
I'd ask if you could please hold your applause until after the closing statements. Next we have Mike, followed by Evan.
Having grown up in this town, I've always felt safe in here. We've always had the best police force available. I remember all the police chiefs going way back. They kept us in line. I know when I was a kid, I got out of line once in a while. You used to learn to respect the police. They tell you to do something, you do it. I think that's all we got to do is we respect the police and your neighbors. You're going to get along just fine. We got to take care of this community. If you're proud of this community, you will. You'll do whatever it takes to make it a safe area and continue on. Same with our fire department. We've got one of the best in the state. And I think if we all just stick together and watch out for each other's backs, we're going to be just fine here. So if anybody ever comes up to me and doesn't feel safe, I'd certainly like to talk to them and find out what the problem is and what we could do to fix the problem.
Thank you. Evan, followed by Kim.
Thank you. Feeling safe is a fundamental issue in the community. I do believe we have excellent law enforcement and public safety teams in place across the city, but we also have real issues in this country. And the issues don't go away if we don't see them. They're here, they're everywhere. And having a conversation is the first step. We're doing that right now. We're starting that conversation. We're starting it with the Public Policies Task Force. That Public Policies Task Force will look at every public policy across all city departments, starting with law enforcement, to find out how we are not serving our community and in what ways we are not serving the community. We can always do better. Doesn't mean we're not doing good. It just means we can always reach to do better. And having people feeling safe in their community, all people, safe and empowered, that is a fundamental issue that our community should have.
Thank you. Kim, followed by Andy.
It's been said already that everyone in this community should feel safe. But the reality is not everybody does. I learned about a lot of that last year when I took a training seminar for leaders in our town here that was hosted by Blandon. And I met people I had never met before. And I heard their stories. And after that training, I realized that I need to step out more in areas I've never been before, to meet people, to hear their stories, to hear their concerns. We have a great law enforcement. We have a city council that cares about people. They care about how people live here. And they're working hard to make it better than what it is, because it needs to get better. It needs to get better everywhere in our world. So I think we just need to continue to work on those things together, and someday, hopefully, we achieve that.
Thank you. Andy, followed by John.
It's really strange to me to live in this town and know that people don't feel safe. Important thing for me would be to hear from them. I want to hear from everybody that doesn't feel safe. And then whether it be getting together with just them and then just the law enforcement and then all together. Okay, what can we do to make our community safe and make everybody feel safe? These are really strange times we're living in right now. What can we do going forward to make things better? Because no one should feel unsafe in Red Wing. Thanks.
Thank you. And John.
I'm just going to open with the last sentence that Andy just said. Nobody should feel unsafe in their community. Nobody should feel unsafe in their own community. One way you can solve this problem, instead of looking to the city to solve your problem or city law enforcement, is you can do it through neighborhood organizations. You can strengthen it. You can learn who your neighbors are. You can develop a relationship with your entire neighborhood, and as collectively, you'll find you'll have a much safer neighborhood, or you'll at least have the perception that your neighborhood is safer. So I think we can do things in a much more organic fashion, and I've seen this in other communities. You really can just parcel out the neighborhood, find some leadership within the neighborhood, and that gets into a whole nother issue regarding leadership development. I mean, we need a process by which people can feel comfortable to start taking on some of these tougher issues, become the future leaders of this community. And it can begin as something as simple as a neighborhood organization. A lot of people don't realize that Jimmy Carter, his first political position was on a school board. So you can go a long way if you can just take that first step forward.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to switch it up a little bit now, and I'm going to do a lightning round question. This is a yes, no only question. And I'm going to ask you to just answer the question from your seat. If you feel comfortable, you can just sort of shout it out. If you need to come to the mic, feel free to do that. And the order I'm going to go in is Mike, Ernie, Evan, Sean, Andy, John, Kim. The question is, do you support the proposed pedestrian bridge from Bay Point to West End businesses? Yes or no? Mike?
No.
Ernie?
No.
Evan?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Andy?
No.
John?
No.
Kim?
No.
Okay. We're going to move on to back to a regular question now. This is on climate. And the order is going to be Evan, Kim, Mike, John, Ernie, Sean, and Andy. So starting out with Evan and Kim. And the question is, Red Wing has been a leader in sustainability and carbon reduction programs as a Green Step city and has just approved a climate action plan. Will you support this plan and current sustainability programs? I'll read it again, it's a little long. Red Wing has been a leader in sustainability and carbon reduction programs as a Green Step city and has just approved a climate action plan. Will you support this plan and current sustainability programs? First is Evan, followed by Kim.
This should have been the lightning round question for me. Of course I support this. I spent 4 years on sustainability. One of the first things I wanted to do on sustainability, I think Lisa will remember this, is that I was advocating for a climate action plan. The climate action plan is the first step in understanding and focusing resources to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Cities have the critical role to play in reducing emissions. If it doesn't start with cities, it doesn't happen. Now, Red Wing's small, but we've always punched above our weight. We are leaders because we get involved and our citizens get involved. And boy, I support that climate action plan. I voted to support it, and I support the efforts in it to reduce greenhouse emissions. And I will continue to work every day for that, because when we get our environment cleaner, when we reduce greenhouse gas emissions, we can do that and make a better environment and a better economy.
Thank you. Kim, followed by Mike.
I agree with you, Evan. This should have been a lightning round one. The answer to this would be yes, I do support the climate action plan. I do support our environment and taking actions in order to be able to keep these parks with trees and keep the life that we have and not struggle with asthma and breathing disorders because of air quality. So the answer to that would be yes.
Thank you. Mike, followed by John.
Well, you would think with our family being in the oil business our entire lives, what my answer will be, and my father's going to roll in his grave when I make this statement. But we got to get with the times, and I can see it coming. The major oil companies are getting involved in it too. They're putting up funding and support the new Clean Air Acts and everything they possibly can do. So it's coming. We know it's coming, and I believe I'm going to continue to see it growing, which in this day and age, with our generations coming up, it's going to happen. So yes, I'm going to get behind it as best I can, whatever I can do to make it happen. I'm not so sure that I'll have an electric car anytime soon, but eventually, yes, it's coming, and I'm all for it.
Thank you. John, followed by Ernie.
Yes, I'm very supportive of it. We live in a very sensitive area, and we have a lot of moving parts in our economy, and so we got to have a game plan. Something is better than nothing, no question about it. But I think this is a solid plan. It's well thought out. It's well reasoned. Evan does get a lot of credit for this. He was way ahead of the curve on this, and I think the whole city will be behind this before too long.
Thank you. Ernie, followed by Sean.
Actually, I'd have to say no. The reason is just stopping and taking information and goals and directions from the rest of the country, whether it's from the Metropolitan Council or Washington, D.C. I think we need to be responsible for ourselves and, of course, always be responsible. I don't think it's a part for Red Wing to be telling the state how to be responsible with energy or the federal government how to be responsible with energy. We need to focus on Red Wing, our unique situation, our unique issues, and be ourselves and govern ourselves.
Thank you. Sean, followed by Andy.
Well, of course, I support the Climate Action Plan, and thank you, Evan, for spearheading that in the community, and way to go, Mike. Thank you. You know, I was here for the forum on Tuesday with the school board members, and there was a question about climate action, stuff like that, and I was looking at the sun, the orange-red sun that was out that day because of the forest fires out west, and also the hearing about Hurricane Sally dumping tons of water on the south, and also hearing about the big, huge ice sheets dropping into the ocean in the Antarctic, threatening to raise water 10 feet or more within the next decade or two. So of course, we need to have this climate action plan, and the sooner we get going on that, the better for everyone.
Thank you. Andy?
Yes, I do support this. Climate is changing, you know, whether people want to admit it or not, it is happening. Great strides have been made with electrical vehicles. We have several solar banks here in town that I believe are paying most, if not all, of our electricity that the city uses. So expanding on that will definitely change things, and looking into electrical vehicles for the city, whether it be large vehicles or small vehicles. Great strides have been made, and if that's something that we can do and change our carbon footprint, then I'm totally support it.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on. I'm going to ask this next question. I'll read the order first. Kim, John, Mike, Ernie, Evan, Andy, and Sean. So we're starting out with Kim and then John. The question is, do you believe that systemic racism is a problem in Red Wing? If elected, what would you do to advance the cause of racial justice in Red Wing? Starting out with Kim and then John. I'll read that again. Do you believe that systemic racism is a problem in Red Wing? If elected, what would you do to advance the cause of racial justice in Red Wing?
I wish I could say no to that answer, that it's not a problem, because it's a problem everywhere. It hasn't been, it's a worldwide problem. And it has been for years and years, far longer than I've lived. And unfortunately, it'll probably be still around when I'm gone. And I wish I could say it would be gone before then. But I'll continue to do what I've done in the past, is support the group that we've put together already in the city to look at policies and plans. I'll continue to talk to people to try to find solutions and hopefully work together across lines to make it better going forward.
Thank you. John, followed by Mike.
Yes, there is systemic racism in Red Wing. There's systemic racism in a lot of places, but yes, there is systemic racism in Red Wing. If you look at the word systemic, I think you have to kind of understand what it means. What it means is it's baked in. It's in there so deep and so to the core that you're not even aware it's even there necessarily. And you can say all the right things and you can make all the right gestures, but it really doesn't address the fundamental issue. And the fundamental issue is we don't have people of color in leadership positions in this community. I mean, we have 7 candidates on the stage here and they're all white. We need leadership development in this community, and this leadership development needs to begin we're going to have a youth in government coming in the next year for the city of Red Wing, and that's a start. But it has to be more pervasive than that, and it has to be more broad-reaching, and it has to be far more inclusive. So there is no simple answer that's clear, and it's a very difficult topic, but it does exist, and it needs to be addressed.
Thank you. Mike, followed by Ernie.
Is racism in Red Wing? Only if you want it to be. I look at it, we're all here equal. We all work together. We all look after each other's backs. In my family, I've got a member who's a member of the gay community, married, has a child. I've got a niece married to a fellow from Ethiopia. And at Christmas time, our feet all fit under the table at the same time. And it's interesting discussions. And I want to see what's going on in here. I want to be informed what's going on. If people have issues, I like to talk to them about it and find out what we can do to make it better. I'm proud of this community. I'm proud of everybody here. I just want everybody to stick together, work together, and we'll be all just fine.
Thank you. Ernie, followed by Evan.
Thank you for asking the difficult questions. Systemic racism in Red Wing, in America, across the world, I have to say no. We have come much further than that in this world. Prejudice, yes, there's prejudice. If black people are oppressed now and say the world is against them, that's tragic to think that way, to be the victim. But how about the Japanese, the Irish, throughout time? We're talking about human nature and prejudice, pack mentality. We need to have a real honest conversation. We need to be more honest with ourselves. Systemic is a pretty powerful word, and I don't consider myself racist. I do have some prejudice, but it's completely different. We have to understand human nature.
Thank you. Evan, followed by Andy.
Is there systemic racism? Absolutely. In Red Wing, across the country, across the world. Our unique issue in this country is really baked in some ways, and I think baked in is the correct answer. We don't really look at racism through the lens of how we set up policies and procedures that impact different people differently. And we have to look at that. That starts with conversations. One of the interesting things about that policy board is one of the fundamental ways that it was to come together was we wanted people who had not served really in government. We wanted to hear new voices from communities that we don't usually hear from. The reason being is that's how you start to build leadership. That's how you start to get the voices heard. That's how you do it. You get them to the table. You have to invite them in somewhat. There has to be an opening to be in, to get in.
Thank you. Andy, followed by Sean.
Yes, unfortunately, there is racism across the globe, Red Wing, everywhere. We have a very diverse community, which was not when I was younger. It's much more diverse now. But how can we all get together with the different groups in government and work together? You know, one of them said, I'm sorry, I forget which one, we have no diversity up here and in government as well. So what can we do to get everybody more involved so we can have that and try to work together to try to eliminate it? I know it's very hard to do, but it's very important, and I'm very, very passionate about that. I really want people to feel safe and not looked at. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean.
Yes, there is structural racism. We only need to look at the impact of the pandemic on communities of color. They bearing the brunt disproportionate to the size of the population, both in catching COVID and also in mortality. So I am a strong supporter of the advisory team, and I will actively support its efforts going forward. On top of that, I think we need, as we look forward in order to emerge from this pandemic, we must have employment policies, education policies that lift everyone up so that they can participate equally in this economy, so that it is the economy that emerges from the pandemic is much better and equitable for all.
Thank you. We're going to move on to, speaking of the pandemic, we're going to move on to a question about it. And I'll read the order first. Andy, Kim, John, Mike, Sean, Evan, Ernie. Again, we're starting with Andy and Kim. And the question is, COVID-19 is a worldwide pandemic affecting Red Wing. What are the impacts that concern you the most? And what can city governments do to mitigate those impacts? I'll read it again. COVID-19 is a worldwide pandemic affecting Red Wing. What are the impacts that concern you the most, and what can city government do to mitigate those impacts? Starting out with Andy, followed by Kim.
I guess how do we proceed, especially when it's over? How do we get our economy back up and running again? How do we do all that stuff? We obviously have to listen to doctors, scientists, and whatever the governor tells us to do. So, yeah, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. Kim, followed by John.
The important thing that we come out of COVID-19, and we will come out of it, we've come out of other pandemics, other diseases, and we will come out of it, but that we, as a city, we need to look at our businesses, we need to look at what services our citizens need, and make sure that they continue to exist, that they make it through this. The worst thing that could happen is that we lose businesses. We are coming into a season where restaurants won't be able to have their patios. They need that occupancy to keep going. They won't be able to survive on the pickup delivery food unless something changes. So we as a city need to look at ways to open up doors for them or other businesses so that they can maintain and be open and survive this.
Thank you. John, followed by Mike.
Lisa, would you repeat it, please?
Yes. I have to find it. COVID-19 is a worldwide pandemic affecting Red Wing. What are the impacts that concern you the most, and what can city government do to mitigate those impacts?
Well, personally, I've been impacted. My business had to shut down. I had to let everybody go. I mean, it was awful. But I'm really actually more concerned about what's happening to the kids in the school, and what the long-term impact that's going to be. And there's absolutely no telling. I mean, this is literally an earthquake, and we're still trying to sort out what the long-term impact will be. It will not be business as usual. I can tell you that right now. As far as the government is concerned, so like with an earthquake, everybody is impacted differently, and some people come through it unscathed. The city of Red Wing actually was not directly impacted as much, outside of all the adjustments we had to make. But as far as a revenue stream, it's pretty much business as usual. And I think the city really needs to be sensitive, very sensitive to what's going on within the constituency of the city itself, and to reflect and behave exactly that same kind of impact. So there's going to be a learning curve. There's no question about it, and the city's going to have to adjust. No question about it.
Thank you. Mike, followed by Sean. Yes. COVID-19 is a worldwide pandemic affecting Red Wing. What are the impacts that concern you the most, and what can city government do to mitigate those impacts?
Well, we're going into a pretty tough time coming up. I look at the, currently I think state of Minnesota about $5 billion in the hole, and they say it's going to head to $10 billion. We're all going to have to back her down a little bit somewhere, and that's going to have to start with the city. We're going to have to give that budget a little trim, and I won't have any say over about this budget coming up, but I hope that the mayor's got that veto ready to go, because he's going to have to straighten that budget up. We're going to have to roll things back a little bit, because it's going to be a little lean times, and like they're saying, it's not going to be business as usual for a while. And I look at it as probably a 2-year program minimum to get this straightened back out. So we're all going to in this together, and we're all going to have to kind of kick her back a little bit. And we can pull ourselves out of it. We did it once before, and we can do it again. But we're just gonna have to tighten the belts up here a little bit, and I think we'll make her.
Thank you. Sean, followed by Evan.
I'm very concerned, coming from a background in the theater, about when people are going to be feeling safe again to gather in groups. When will we be able to have another crowd at the Sheldon Theater? When will we be feeling comfortable about going out into restaurants and going into restaurants without being nervous about how close people are? I learned a fact today that if 80% of the people in the United States wore their masks consistently, as well as keep social distance and wash their hands, that it would have a better effect on controlling the pandemic than locking down the economy. So there are some things we can do. I think the city can be a strong advocate for these health measures that we can all take going forward. Wear your masks, and we can turn this around. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Evan, followed by Ernie.
I'm most concerned right now about the upcoming winter. It will impact a lot of businesses because they won't have access to as much outdoor space, and that's a real impact. And the city, through the Port Authority and through various programs, has already put on over $1 million into our local businesses. We have CARES money that we're looking to put into nonprofits and other things along with the county. We are really looking to help over this hump. Also concerns me is that we have some people in the community who don't take this seriously. This is a worldwide pandemic. This is not a joke. And as Sean said, there's some simple things that we can do to care for one another, and caring for one another is one real way that we can do this. Please wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie.
Wearing masks help. I'll agree with that. But as far as what the city can do when we're under the dictatorship and the rules of the governor and his executive orders, there's really not a whole lot we can do but to abide by the laws and the rules that are put down towards us. My greatest concern is Red Wing, we're an aging community. Look at myself. What is happening to people in assisted care, old folks? People are dying alone. They can't have their family and friends around them. They're looking through the windows to see them. They can have one person at a time. There are so many people out there that are scared, dying alone. And it's time for not to be afraid. What's the next thing that we're going to be afraid of? We have life. Life is dangerous. Enjoy it. Don't fear. Don't be afraid of everything. Embrace it. This is life.
Thank you. Okay. How's everybody doing? Okay? Everybody's still standing or still sitting? Okay. I really appreciate everyone sticking with us. I know it's getting a little chilly. We just have a couple more questions. I'm going to switch it up a little bit here. I'm going to ask a question, and I'm going to ask for 3 words. I'd like you to come to your mic and just give me 3 words. And first I'll read the order. It's Sean, John, Kim, Andy, Evan, Ernie, Mike. So Sean followed by John. John. The question is, list 3 qualities which make a good leader for Red Wing in our current environment. List 3 qualities which make a good leader for Red Wing in our current environment. Sean, followed by John.
Can I put 2 words together?
All right.
I say, listen, respond honestly, and listen again.
John, followed by Kim.
Stop. Grace under fire.
Okay, that's a barely qualifies, but okay.
Okay. The judge says it's okay. Transparency is very important. And principles.
Thank you. Kim, followed by Andy.
Listen, honesty, and action.
Thank you. Andy, followed by Evan.
Listen, observe, and act upon.
Thank you. Evan, followed by Ernie.
Attentiveness, compassion, thoughtfulness.
Thank you. Ernie, followed by Mike.
Integrity, curiosity, and imagination.
Mike.
Pride, honesty, and ideas.
Okay, this brings us to our last regular question before the closing statements. And the order is going to be John, Evan, Sean, Ernie, Mike, Andy, Kim. So we'll start out with John, followed by Evan. And the question is, how will you work with people of different viewpoints and engage in conversation with them, especially those whom you represent? How will you work with people of different viewpoints and engage in conversation with them, especially those whom you represent?
Well, you have to make the effort, and I'm very proud of the effort I have done in my first term as city council member. Last year, I had 6 town hall meetings with my constituency, and my constituency is really anybody in Red Wing who wants to sit in and participate. 3 of them were at the senior center, and 3 of them were in small businesses. So I try to make myself as available as possible. Like I said earlier, I'm a big believer in neighborhood activation, and that's one thing I think that Red Wing there's a lot of untapped potential going forward. So, and you know, I really enjoy listening to people with different points of view. I really do. I don't ever shut anybody down because I don't necessarily agree with them personally, because everybody's entitled to an opinion. There's just, and that's a fact, and I think that's a very simple rule to live by.
Thank you. Evan, followed by Sean.
Well, it really starts with listening to constituents. You know, representing is a fundamental issue of governance. And getting out and talking to people and listening, that's what I've been doing on city council. It's what I've done as I've served before, working with people hand in hand. That's how you do it. People come with different ideas. It's a good thing. It is a good thing. That friction of differing ideas, kind of, you know, rubbing up against each other and working them out, that's how we come to process. That's how we get to answers. That's how we do democracy. It's not necessarily pretty, but it works. And it works because we have to listen to what people say. So I will continue to listen, and my door is always open, and I always go out and talk and listen to people and hear their voice.
Thank you. Sean, followed by Ernie.
So again, it begins with listening to what a person's saying, and really trying to understand where they're coming from. And that is kind of an active listening thing, where they say something and then you say, yeah, is this what I heard? I think I heard you saying, and get that dialogue. But it has to go beyond that. It has to go to a sense of empathy, to really understand what that person's life is like and how they are experiencing their life, and really trying to get a bond between you and the constituent to understand their situation. And then once you have that empathy, that link, you begin to understand that really we are all the same. We have the same essential concerns, and we work together to try to address those. Thank you.
Thank you. Ernie, followed by Mike.
Who, me, not agree? I don't think that there's ever a time that you're going to be in a group that 80% of the people agree. Controversy, disagreement, comes for many different reasons: backgrounds, experience, culture. You sit, you listen, you collaborate, you reach an agreement, and the agreement usually, if not always, comes down to a vote and the majority rules. So the idea is cooperation, patience, and the ability to take the perspective of another person's side.
Thank you, Mike, followed by Andy. Yes. How will you work with people of different viewpoints and engage in conversation with them, especially those whom you represent?
Well, I always look at it as the art of the deal. You've heard that term before. In my years of negotiating with employees and with contractors and whatever on deals, I always want a good outcome for both parties involved. I don't care if you're negotiating on a pay scale or you name it. You always want to come out with the best outcome that's going to be beneficial to both parties involved. And I'm a strong believer in that. I don't care what the problem is, if there is one, or if you're negotiating or discussing some other problem. You all want to come out of that room feeling good, and that's always my goal. And in negotiating out anything with anybody, I want everybody to leave the room feeling good.
Thank you, Andy, followed by Kim.
Well, everybody's entitled to their own opinions and viewpoints, and how do you truly represent them if you don't hear from them? Well, if elected, I want to hear from everybody. You know, we might have different ideas and opinions and whatnot, but how do you go together with those and come out stronger with better ideas to move forward?
And Kim.
It's never easy to listen to someone that has a different opinion than you, but it's an important part of the positions that we are going to undertake. But not only listening is to respond to them, to know that you heard what they had to say. And that may be, today in our world, we deal with social media so much that it may be through an email or a text. Sometimes it's a phone message, to get back to the person and let them know that you heard what they had to say. You may still not agree with what they have to say, but to let them know you heard what they had to say and maybe get it clarified. The saddest part for me is in the last 5 years to hear I sent the same email to a number of people and never heard back from any of them, or only one other person. That should not happen. They should hear from everyone that they sent a message to at some time that they were heard.
Thank you. That brings us to our closing statements. I'm going to read the order, and again, I'd ask if we could wait until after all the closing statements are done for any applause. We'll start with, I'll read the order, all of them. It's Evan, Sean, Ernie, Kim, Andy, Mike, John. We'll start with Evan.
Thank you very much for all coming out and sitting here on a kind of chilly night. I do want to say I think the lightning round question was a little more nuanced, but you can get back to me if you want to know really what the nuance is. It has been my pleasure and privilege to serve on City Council for the last almost 4 years, and I hope through this tonight that you will consider me again for the position. I love dearly this community, and I'm committed to this community, and this community has got such a huge heart. And I really believe that together we can do things that we haven't even touched yet. And I know this from my time on sustainability, because I've seen how we've reached past things to do things that much larger communities haven't done. So I do have faith in this community, and I'm here for the people, and I will take their ideas and I'll run with them and run those ideas for them. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Evan Brown. Hope you will consider me for your vote for Red Wings Wards 3 and 4 combined. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Sean, followed by Ernie.
So, it's been an honor and privilege to serve as your mayor for the past 3.5 or a little more years. The greatest moments were when I was able to sit down with staff or community members and talk about what we need to do, what issue is facing us, and what kind of solutions can we work together to get moving forward. There's a spirit in Red Wing, I believe, a spirit of we can do this, a spirit that we can not only do this, but we will prevail as a community and create a place where everybody, as we've saying, feels safe and can have a full life and be happy and make money and raise a family. So going forward, I would look forward to serving another 4 years to continue the jobs I've started, the relationships I've built, both here in Red Wing and in the region and in the state and on a nationwide scale, to make Red Wing the place we all want it to be. So again, I'm Sean Dowse. I'm running to be re-elected as your mayor and would consider it honor and privilege to serve another 4 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ernie, followed by Kim.
Responsible spending, quality city services, safety and serenity for the citizens is what I'm standing for. It was well over a year ago now. I wanted to get involved with changing the name of the bridge, the Dwight D. Eisenhower Bridge. And I received calls back from the mayor and the president of the city council, and they said, nope, you can't do that. It's written into the legislation. The name cannot be changed. I did not take that as an answer. Nothing is forever. Got together with some friends, Jane Jaskowski, Daniel Ludwig, Merle Larson, and we got our ducks in a row and we fought for this, to change it to the Bridge of Valor. We're very fortunate to have good leadership with Barb Haley. She guided us along, went through the process. I learned a lot during that process. Now, City of Red Wing, across the river in Wisconsin, we have a point to honor the patriots, the people who fought in the past wars, the policemen, firefighters, first responders. We honor them. And the idea is that I don't take no for an answer and you can't do it. There's always a way. You have to find a way. And the one thing that I really would like to say, that diversity is not the color of your skin. It is character.
Thank you. Kim, followed by Andy.
It's been a pleasure to serve on the Red Wing City Council for the last 5 years. And I find myself in the unusual position I was 5 years ago and running unopposed, which is sad. And one of the things that I'm going to work on in the next 4 years is encouraging young people, old people, whoever, that may have never tried this, may have never thought they would qualify for a city council position or some other commission or board, to get involved in their community. It's the only way we can make a difference and keep Red Wing what it has been and what it will be better in the future. Thank you. Get out and vote. Don't not vote. It's your privilege. Take advantage of it.
Thank you. Andy, followed by Mike and John.
I'd like to thank the league for hosting the event tonight and everyone for coming out on a chilly evening. This is my hometown. I love this town. I'd do anything to serve it. I want to work with residents. I want to be their voice on the council. We inherited a great town, and should be a place where people can buy a home, start a family, open a business, and retire. In the coming weeks, I hope to earn your trust and friendship and your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, followed by John.
I'd like to thank the League and the Georgia Island community and the Chamber for putting this on, and a special shout out to the Jones Foundation for this beautiful facility we get to use down here. We're spoiled in this community. We have a lot of nice things. I want to continue to see nice things in this town. It's wonderful. I kind of scratched my head when I got into this running for mayor, but after the primary, when I saw that 60% of the votes were looking for change, that solidified my decision to run for mayor of this community. I feel it was time for change. Weak mayor deal, I know it, but I'm not afraid to ask the questions. I'll pull the curtain back and find out what's going on, because I believe transparency is very important in this community. A lot of things aren't brought out, but I would like to bring those out to people and let them know exactly what's going on in this community and how we're governing it. We have a good council on there now, I understand that, but I just want to, there's nothing I can really do, but I can ask the questions and hopefully with my business experience of 40 years, help them down the road a little bit, just give them some ideas and help them through making some decisions that are the betterment to this community. And one final thing is, I'm in it to win it, so get out and vote November 3rd and vote for Mike Wilson for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And John.
Okay, thank you, League of Women Voters. Thank you, Prairie Island. Thank you, Chamber of Commerce, for hosting this. It's been a great opportunity to meet a lot of new people, and I hope it's been useful for you as well. I just want to expand a little bit on something Kim said. I really wish there were as many candidates for every office as there were for the school board. I mean, it's just, we really need, this is an urgent crisis, and this is a leadership issue. We really need fresh blood, fresh faces, and that begins with leadership development. So that's going to be a priority of mine going forward. I hope to have your vote, but in any case, vote. Minnesota has a remarkable voting record. We're almost always in the top, particularly in the presidential vote in terms of voter turnout. A lot of people aren't aware of how high Red Wing is within Minnesota. We are in the top 10% of the top voting state. So we have a lot to be very proud of. I think that reflects how engaged our community is. I think the fact of all the people who turned out tonight, I know we'll probably get 100% voter turnout for the people who did show up tonight. So this is a wonderful opportunity. I'm not sure there's anything I can say tonight that's going to change your mind one way or the other about me. I am what I am, and that's all that I am. So thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you. All right, now, please join me in congratulating or thanking our candidates for participating tonight. I said the other night, I've run for office myself. I know what a big deal it is to put your name and your life and your family's life on the line for this time. So we thank you. You've all made a difference just by participating. So thank you. Before I call Tina Langton up for a few final comments, I just want to invite everyone who might be interested in joining the league. We have folks over here who'd be more than happy to talk with you about it. We have all kinds of things going on during the year, not just voter forums, and lots of different ways for you to get involved if you choose to do so. So at this time, I'd like to invite Tina Langton, the president of the Red Wing League of Women Voters, back on stage for the final remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks again for leading our forum this evening, and thank you to the candidates for coming out. We really appreciate it. And thank you to our co-sponsors, the Red Wing Area Chamber of Commerce and Prairie Island Indian Community. And also a big thank you to you, the voters, for coming out and being participatory. We really appreciate it. We do this for you. Special thanks to Joan Odell, our timekeeper, to Tom Feehan for the videos of all 5 races, and to Mike Murphy, the sound guru, who makes us all sound wonderful. And to all the many volunteers that it took to put this together. Without their hard work and dedication, these events would not have been possible. And also, please remember to visit 411.org for your voter guide and choose the best way to vote for yourself. Good night and thank you.